How are you doing? It is
Um,
Remix Morning Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? It is Wednesday, right? Because I'm not.
mhm.
I don't. I don't remember my dates anymore. I just wake up and I'm like, hey, I'm still here.
The sun is up. It's another
Yep.
day.
So welcome to the Remix Morning Show. Today is Wednesday, February 14th. That explains the really messed up mood I've been in the past 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yep.
no Valentine's Day.
No, we
That's
never
cool.
did Valentine's. We did pancakes.
Listen, what's the difference between February 14th and March 22nd,
It
or
won't
or
no
or May
difference.
the 6th? Like,
It was not any different. That dude
what's
was
the difference?
Saturday was breakfast in bed for Jackie Day. So
Saturday is
Saturdays
the
I
best
just did
day.
not get up.
Saturday trumps February 14th every day. Okay, all the time.
Yep, Saturday was just like, oh babe, don't get up.
hmm
Oh, go back to sleep. I'm gonna get you some coffee.
Oh,
But
yes.
like the first time he did it, I was like,
Mm,
who this man is?
right. Is this a thing? Is
And
this what you do?
then he came up with not just coffee, but coffee and pancakes. I love pancakes. Coffee, pancakes, scrambled egg. Oh, he just and
Okay,
yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
just oh,
Yeah. It
okay.
was
After
it
Swoop
was
Mine, you can hang around. We let you hang around a little bit.
yes, man. That's the kind of stuff I miss. That's
Oh,
that's the
baby.
kind of stuff I miss the most.
You know.
Not the spectacular public stuff no. It was just, him and me and the dog fighting for space on the bed, looking for a good movie to watch. But let me not be a Debbie Downer for the
That's
rest
not a
of you.
Debbie Downer. That's not a Debbie Downer. That's celebration. You tell them people the kind of love that you had. That's
To hell with love, man.
oh well. I guess. Dang it, Jackie. I have been practicing this opening. I have been working on my Spanish because I was sized that I sort of got
Do
it
it.
kind of right
Come
last
on.
week. Bienvenidos de
I
los
don't,
miércoles, miércoles de las mujeres. I don't even know if I said that right. It just sounded.
yes, you did. It was great. Yep. The
Mm,
Wednesday, the Women's Wednesday. That's right. Yep.
that's
I
us.
like it.
We.
Like it. Hmm.
Estamos aquí. Let's
Hmm.
go. Vamos.
Yes, indeed. So, there's a lot going on. I mean, it seems like the only thing going on is what's happening to Palestine, but unfortunately, the empire is doing its thing all over the place still. So we can't lose track of that kind of stuff.
Truly, absolutely. First, can we acknowledge the absence, the very glaring absence of the ear doctor? like, ear
Yes.
doctor is not with us this morning. I anticipate he will return on tomorrow. So
Oh
fret
yeah.
not for brother doctor. He will be back on his way.
Hmm.
But as you see, we will not have. Did he leave us any interludes, or this was a
Yeah, there are a bunch of little videos in here, and I'm just gonna click on any of them, and we're gonna see what happens.
a?
Uh, oh, but it's funny you said he is not with us. I was like, he's not dead.
Oh
Just
no,
we
no,
didn't
no,
kill
no.
him.
No, well, we didn't.
He he's all right. He'll be back, I think, tomorrow,
Mhm, mhm.
and possibly the rest of our male cohort, but we don't care about them today. Don't care about those.
Oh, she said it. Y'all heard her. Come
Nope.
out. That's still your boo boo. You hear her saying she don't even care if you show up. Mm.
Didn't I tell y'all I broke up with him last year?
He's still mad. He just you ever see a bitter man after his woman left him? Just
Yeah.
they're angry.
I
Ain't
quit you and I'm
boundary.
still mad.
Ooh, some of these men be so sad over relationships that they themselves be ruining. It's like,
I
why are you frowning, sir? Didn't you? Wasn't it you? Why are you upset?
right.
This
Like
is your doing?
what did you and I one of the few boyfriends I had that I broke up with. And when I broke up with him, he was like, how could you do this to me? I'm like, what did you think I was going to do with all the other stuff you did to other women when you weren't doing? How did you think I was going to take that? Did you think that was going to? Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Mm,
You need
mm.
to go back, play with your little girls, and leave the grown ass women
Go on
alone.
your way. And don't have an attitude about it. Aren't you doing what you want to do? Go be
Right. Like, why
free.
are you mad when I agree? You should go do all these other things.
Woo, child. Spend a lifetime. You never understand.
Oh, I'm I can't. I can't do it. I can't do that whole dating thing again.
Mm.
I can't do it.
Tragically, I have no advice.
I just
Like, I can't.
I'm
But Jackie, lucky for you, there's an entire industry of relationship advice for Black women out here,
they
girl.
better stay away from me. Stay away from me.
There is a million rabbit holes that you could
Mm-mm.
fall down on this here platform about how you can find you the right man.
Oh my
Find you a
God.
king. Get you a king. Get you a king.
I don't I don't know why we're still doing that in 2024 though. I just don't get how many decades of relationship advice for Black
Mm,
men, for Black women
mm,
have we had? And
mm,
if it hasn't worked out for you, why are you
mm,
still listening to these people? Why are people still listening to these folks who, by the way, probably aren't in relationships themselves?
mm.
That,
They be the main ones giving out the advice. I said we should try that. I'm in no relationship. I got all the advice. Come ask Auntie a question about your man and your relationship. Baby, I'm gonna tell you. It's all gonna circle back to leave him.
let me start
But you
by
could go
saying,
ask.
leave them.
Right.
Then
Go
let
get
me
you
give you the
another
rest of
one.
why you should.
Right, girl. Go get you another one. They out here.
Oof. Oh my God. I just went I think I realized that something was very wrong when Steve Harvey wrote that book, the first one. And I'm like, Steve hasn't he divorced twice?
Ja-
I
Where
okay, if that's
where
what we're looking to for relationship advice.
where was
Okay.
you? Where was you when I was in the abyss of think like a man, act like a woman? I said, I must be crazy. Everybody is falling all over themselves for the book, for the movie. I said, isn't this Steve Harvey's third marriage? Like, what? Don't y'all know this? How come everybody? Jackie, I'm telling you, all this, especially a lot of this pop culture shit will make you think that you crazy out here. I
I
definitely
do,
thought I was alone because everybody was with it and into it. Bad
uh-uh.
time. That was a bad time
It
for
was
us.
a very bad time.
That was a bad time.
I
Whoo,
was
that was a
like, oh
bad
my
time.
God, we down bad out here,
So
boss.
bad.
Jesus.
I'm just terrible,
Mm-mm.
terrible.
But
It was
we do have some up-to-date news. So
good, good.
let's slap that map. Wait,
Oh,
let me see if I can find the map.
slap the map. Show off. Let's go.
I mean, if people would label these
I mean,
videos the correct way,
Jacqueline,
what?
come on. Let's give them a little latitude, shall
Okay,
we?
yeah. Oh, and now nothing's coming up. Nothing's coming.
Mm,
They're not there. Let me see. Okay,
mm,
wait there. Okay, there they are.
you
Let's
got it.
see. Um, where is it? See,
Blacka, blacka, blacka.
background, add background. Where is the news thing? Okay, there it is.
Jackie,
I found it.
on.
Look at that. I found the button. Here we go.
Everybody, how's everybody feeling? It's the Remix Morning Show. It is a day that is observed by the capitalist culture today in observance of love. But guess what, remixers? We love y'all every day. We don't
Every
need
day.
a Hallmark sponsored day sponsored by the chocolates. Who else sponsors this shit, Jackie? Who else? The
The
Applebee's, fucking Olive Garden. Girl, let me tell you, I remember going to Olive Garden in the 90s when I was in high school with my boyfriend at the time and my homegirl and her boyfriend. And that was the first time I realized, oh, Valentine's Day is a thing. Like we went to the Olive Garden in Laurel. That shit was you thought that shit was Ruth Chris. What's gonna be a 2-hour wait for Olive
for
Garden?
Olive Garden, and
Really?
now none of that makes sense. Applebee's doesn't make sense. TGI Fridays doesn't make sense. None of those places make sense to me.
I'm like, right here on Route 1 in Cherry Lane, like it's a 2-hour wait. Are y'all serious?
Uh-huh. Yep. The chocolate makers and the candy makers and the
Woo.
greeting card industry. Yeah, they got us with that one. When
Mm.
really Valentine's Day is the day the Hawaiians stabbed John Cook right in his damn neck.
Hey, now, now, that's a celebration, bitches. That's
That's
what I'm
what you
talking about.
celebrate.
Hold on, Jackie, regale us with that. Tell us a story. Can we hear that story? That's a story. Girl, hold on, let me get comfy.
Oh.
Let me go get the rest of my spliff. This is a great story. I didn't even know Valentine's Day had such a tale. A killing of the
I
colonizer? Girl,
yes.
what? Did y'all know this?
Yep.
Ooh.
So
Now it is we
James
paid.
Cook, colonizer of, colonizer from the ranks of all the colonizers, um,
Shout out to England. Rest
was
in peace. Cook
so
Islands. Yeah, okay, the Cook
yeah, so
Islands.
February I wanted to find the one with the name of the islands. So
Oh, the original name of the island before the white man came
no,
and named it
no,
after
that's
himself.
they, they're like they killed him, and then the other colonizers came on and named it after the colonizer
Oh,
they killed. But on
boo.
February 4th, 1779. Oh, let me share this. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Not that.
They got a YouTube clip? I'm just kidding.
No, this is just
Ooh, was there
a plain old history.com
was there artist
story.
rendering? Did Renoir come back and redo this on the
I was actually
canvas?
actually also trying to find that meme with the picture, like it literally like an artist rendering of the Hawaiians killing Captain Cook. But
Mhm.
yeah, so on February 14th, 1779, Captain James Cook, great is their opinion, English explorer and navigator, is killed by native Hawaiians during his third visit to the Pacific Island group. In 1768, Cook, a surveyor in the Royal Navy, was commissioned a lieutenant in command of the HMS Endeavour. And HMS means in Her Majesty's service. That's what they named the ships. And led an expedition that took scientists to Tahiti to chart the course of the planet Venus. No, they weren't. In 1771, he returned to England, having explored the coast of New Zealand and Australia, circumnavigating the globe. Beginning in 1772, he commanded a major mission to the South Pacific, and during the next 3 years, explored the Antarctic region, charted the New Hebrides, and discovered New Caledonia. He didn't discover New Caledonia, it was
Mm.
there.
Mhm.
In 1776, Cook sailed from England again as a commander of the HMS Resolution and Discovery, and in January 1778, he made his first visit to the Hawaiian Islands. He may have been the first European to ever visit the island group, which he named the Sandwich Islands, in honor of one of his patrons, John Montagu, the Earl of Sandwich. See
Mm.
how you give these colonizing crackers enough money, and they will name some land that they stole after you.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Interesting.
Cook and his
Ooh.
crew were welcomed at first by the Hawaiians, who were fascinated by the European ships and their use of iron. Cook provisioned his ships by trading the metal, and his sailors traded iron for sex. That's not what they
Traded.
they
Is that how they're framing that?
that's how they framing. That's how they're that this is why I needed to read this one because they were not trading iron for sex. They were raping those women
Uh,
and
uh,
probably little boys and men too.
Everybody, anybody could get it
The
from
ships
these
then
folks.
made a brief stop at Nihau and headed north to look for the western end of the Northwest Passage from the North Atlantic to the Pacific. Almost 1 year later, Cook's two ships returned to the Hawaiian Islands and found a safe harbor in Hawaii's Kealakekua Bay. I hate this shit. White people do this all of the time. It is suspected that the Hawaiians attached religious significance to the first stay of the Europeans on their island. In Cook's visit, there was no question of this phenomenon. Kealakekua Bay was considered the sacred harbor of Lono, the fertility god of the Hawaiians, and at the time of Cook's arrival, the locals were engaged in a festival to Lono. Cook and his compatriots were welcomed as god for the next month exploited the Hawaiians' goodwill. Yeah, I don't buy that they welcomed them as gods just because they were having a religious ceremony for their fertility god. And because that that frames the Hawaiians, the native Hawaiians, as ignorant savages who just didn't know any better. And the first white man they saw was God. Come on. When they had their own gods
When they had their
who
own
looked like
gods.
them that they could. Yeah. Anyway. Uh
And when they said that, and that the last part of that sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting, that
mhm.
Cook and the Europeans exploited the Hawaiians' goodwill. When that kind of text is admitting some sort of exploitation, you can imagine that it was whatever the worst form of exploitation you can think of. It was definitely that and then some.
Because they get to it right here. First, they accuse the Hawaiians of being, ignorant, gullible, uncivilized, childlike people by claiming that just because Cook and his crew showed up during the Hawaiians' festival of their god, that they all of a sudden saw them as gods. But then in the very next paragraph, this is why I always say you have to read the whole thing to get to the truth sometimes. They say, and this is history.com, however, Cook's arrival brought with it infectious diseases that devastated the native Hawaiian population. And after one of the crewmen died, exposing the Europeans as mere mortals, relations became strained. So the first time these infectious diseases were not introduced to the Hawaiians the second time Cook came. They were introduced to the Hawaiians the first time.
Mhm.
That's why the Hawaiians hated that mug. They might have been nice to them and treated them as guests the first time, but believe me, when they came back because of this, that they dropped off the first time and left with the Hawaiians that caused a lot of Hawaiians to die,
Mm.
that's why the Hawaiians were pissed off. And that is why on February 4th, 1779, the British ship sailed from Kealakekua Bay, but rough siege damaged the foremast of the Resolution, and after only a week at sea, the expedition was forced to return to Hawaii, where they were greeted by Hawaiian men throwing rocks at their ships. Then they stole a small cutter vessel from the Discovery. They didn't steal it, they requisitioned it.
Mm.
Negotiations with the king for the return of the cutter collapsed when a Hawaiian chief was shot to death.
Oh,
Was shot to death when Hawaiians attacked. When a lesser Hawaiian chief was shot to death, um, as Hawaiians attacked Cook's party. The captain and his men fired on the Hawaiians, but they were soon overwhelmed, and only a few managed to escape to the safety of the Resolution. Captain Cook himself was killed by being stabbed in the neck by the
mm,
Hawaiians. A few
mm.
days later, the Englishmen retaliated by firing their cannons and muskets, at the shore, killing some 30 Hawaiians. And the Resolution and Discovery eventually will return to England without James Cook because he was dead.
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 Very dead. Not even
Hmm.
allowed to repatriate his remains to his homeland. Isn't that sad how that works?
That's right. Stab Captain Cook in the neck day. Happy sad stab Captain Cook in the neck day.
Thank you so much for that, Jackie. That has just brightened everything. there is
Doesn't
there's
it? Doesn't just make you
possibility
feel so
on
much
today.
better?
It really does. Like when, and honestly, we're not taught these stories enough. I mean, and that is with intention, right? Nobody wants, not nobody, but the empire and the imperialists don't want the people to hear about stories about how the colonizers were defeated in some instances. So I think it's very reaffirming for us to know that history. So shout out to the Hawaiians. Damn, what's up, Hawaiians? We appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Foment Dissident. I like that. Faux, F-A-U-X, Mint, M-I-T, Dissident. That is so funny. I like that. Uh, Foment Dissident said he was overcooked. That's cute.
Hey, let the puns rain down on James
Let the
Cook.
puns rain down upon Captain Cook's stab neck.
You know, like I've always wanted to visit the Cook Islands, and now I don't think I want to. I mean, and it's a shame because the Cook Islands, you know, there's people there. There was people there when he
Hmm.
arrived there, and there's still people there since the Europeans have departed. But it's like I don't want to. I hate going to places where the shit is named after them.
I do, and I want to go to these places because I want to ask people. So, don't y'all think it's time to change this name?
Mm,
Change this. I mean, I don't mean to be telling you, how to do stuff in your country. I'm just saying,
just
may
suggesting.
get, and it's not like Native Hawaiians are not trying to still um break the yoke of colonialism on their
Mhm.
islands. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
But I love telling that story because people don't know that
No.
that they do not. We always fight back. I don't know what people why people think that oppressed people just settled happily with their oppression like they expect the Palestinians to do. But see, when you
Mm.
look at the way people respond to the Palestinians today, you see how massacres have happened over the years. And I don't even mean as far back as then. I mean the massacres that happened during the Red Scare. I mean the massacres that happened in 1920, during the Red Summer of 2020. All of this stuff that happened, the massacre of indigenous people, tens of millions of indigenous people to steal this land. So when you see people in this country today saying things like that's ancient history, you need to forget about that, let that go. The first thing I tell them, well, if it was ancient history and it was so long ago, why the hell are you still celebrating the 4th of July? You didn't do it. You were not on that ship, and your ancestors blamed the native people anyway for some stuff that they started because they didn't want to pay taxes on the products that came from their slave labor. That's the
And to
number
the
one
point
thing.
that our brothers was making yesterday, Jared and Kamau, talking about Dr. Umar, right, and his influence on younger generations of Black folks, getting them to disconnect from what's going on in Palestine, disconnecting the Palestinian struggle from our struggle here. Like, why should we care about them people over there? Why? What you mean? Like what? What?
Because every chokehold and knee on the neck that you have seen
Mm-hmm.
in videos in this country, that training came from Israel.
That's
That's
right.
why.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about chokehold and Umar. That's why I was laughing.
No, no, I mean, although no, I don't want any of our people to be chokehold
Yeah.
just yet, just yet.
What about gently arrested at an award show? What do you think? No,
Did
nobody
we
was put
ever
in a chokehold.
did we ever talk about that? Because I'm
Oh yeah,
still
no,
in
no, no. It got well,
okay.
y'all was being nice. I saw you that morning. You was being particularly nice. You didn't even really say much. You was like,
I didn't, because I didn't
well,
know what was going on, and I didn't know if it was I didn't know if it was worth saying anything about, or I didn't know. So, I mean, what did he do?
So he left the arena after winning the Grammys. He tried to re-enter. He was stopped by a security guard that has been identified as a woman. There is not clear video that has been released, though I suspect very clear video exists because it's happened in downtown LA right there at the fucking arena. You know they got a camera at every door. Um he was arrested on site, charged with misdemeanor battery, released on his own recognizance. I don't think a court date has yet been established. But if this security person was a woman, I think he might be in trouble, to be honest. Like if not criminally, I mean, he might skate on this misdemeanor battery or whatever, but I think this lady might sue him. Because guess what? If Killer Mike put his giant hands on me, I too would sue him. So I mean, I think he should expect a civil lawsuit here. That's just my opinion.
So, Leah Boggs, what's going on, says that was a citizen's arrest. And
Oh,
yes, I'm still cackling at it.
Leah
Hold on.
being petty. Leah being petty. That's correct.
What? Wait, so it wasn't like an authorized security person? It was
Right. I'm
just
sorry.
some random ass white lady?
Working security. And so her comrades, her fellow security people witnessed Mike allegedly putting his hands on her and pushing, not saying he slapped her or pushed her, I don't know what he did, but her body moved after he touched her, right? So this was witnessed apparently by others, and they surrounded him to make a citizen's arrest. I said, wait a minute. I thought we was on some
You-
real nigga shit. How? Not even get rowdy, nigga. Just leave. Like, how you understand? How you gonna look at some random self-deputized whites around? You better move, nigga. You better get the fuck away from there and let the police catch up with you later. I'm sorry. That was just my take.
I don't. I'm sorry. That is the of all the dumbass things you could get arrested for. That I'm sorry. I got nothing.
Jacqueline,
Yo, dude.
Jacqueline. He got on the View yesterday. Jackie, he got on the Monday. He got on the View Monday, and then the Bruvs here played it yesterday. He got on there and said, but some of my heroes like Malcolm, Martin, and Mandela also been in handcuffs. I said, Martin who? Martin Lawrence, nigga, what? Who we talking about? What Malcolm? Wait, there must be 3 Malcolms, must be 10 Malcolms. What Malcolm you talking about? Malcolm Jamal Warner, what Malcolm you talking about? Surely you are not referring to Brother Little. Come on. What are we talking about?
See, okay. Okay, I'm not, because look, they extra out here. I know they extra out here. The whites are feeling very emboldened, and they don't like it when the blacks win things. So
Girl, when they start talking like that, I don't like it when the blacks win things. Okay, like when they start talking,
he did not have to win with his faux revolutionary bullshit.
Oh man.
And you know what? And you know what this is screaming to me right now? Publicity stunt. I'm sorry, man. How do you get arrested? A citizen's arrest for trying to enter the building that you just came out of. and then I mean,
a blonde white lady told him not to go in there.
And he didn't. And he didn't just go somewhere else to get in there.
I mean, I'd be like, okay, walk down and let's see what happens. Listen, I think he's in trouble because I think when the actual CCTV footage comes out, the shit that's over every goddamn door around every arena, and it shows giant black man Killer Mike mushing or in some way moving the body of this white woman who in the TMZ video appears to be blonde. Oh, Don't let her be blonde. Oh, but Killer Mike is in trouble. I think Killer Mike is going to
Yeah.
be in trouble when the good footage comes out.
I think that's true, even though I still believe there was some aspect of this that was like oh yeah, I can this is no press is bad press. So who knows who
Seemingly
Killer
not.
Mike is outside of the hip hop, who knows who he is? No, and I don't know. I do think he is in trouble because he physically put his hands on a white woman. I don't care what he actually did. If all he did was put his hands on her arms and
That's
then
it.
what, oh, I shouldn't do that. That's not going to turn out well. He would still be in trouble. But this is where I think people like um Killer Mike, who we have to remember, his family is cops. That's why he has never come out saying that, all cops are bastards, because he don't want to say that about his family.
About his
But
daddy,
he,
about his uncle,
uh,
about his
no,
uncles
and
and them. Mm-mm.
right. So he comes from family, so he may not be in as much. Comes from cop families, comes from a cop family, so he may not be in as much trouble legally. I don't know. We'll see. But I do think that I just don't see anybody doing anything this foolish, and there not be an ulterior motive behind it, behind him. I mean, because he's not that stupid. I might not agree with his politics, but he ain't that stupid.
Well, and that's why I think he did not overreact, right? Because somebody on the screen might have overreacted. I don't, and I'm not going to say who.
You're not naming names.
I'm not naming names. I am not naming names because I'm sorry. Anybody that's not the police, I'm sorry. Do you think you're about to detain I? And don't let me be huge and male. Oh, you can't keep me. Bitch, I'm big. Anyway. So I don't, but see, I think I said this on my show. I think Killer Mike's family being police helps him in Georgia. I think LAPD did not give a single shit because I'm sure like
Yeah. Oh,
I
that's
said this
right.
on my
That's right.
show.
This is in LA. That's
I
right.
said,
I
I
forgot.
said,
Yeah.
Killer Mike told the LAPD exactly that. Yeah, my father's a police, my uncle's a police, and the LAPD was like, "Oh, really, sir? That's good. Can you please put your hands behind your back?
Put your hands behind your back.
Nobody gave a
That's
shit."
right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot it. This was in LA and not
Mhm.
he's in trouble.
Yeah, you might be. You might be in trouble. It don't look like it in the moment right now, but I'm
Right
telling you,
now, but that's I agree. If they can't if they couldn't charge him with anything criminal,
mhm.
yeah, I think the little white lady is gonna do what little white ladies do. They're gonna take him, they're gonna take that black man to court. And listen, I'm I, I'm so not what you want me to say. But you let them people put okay. Yes, well.
That's what I said. That's what I said. That's what
I
I said.
mean,
I've
I
been detained a couple of times, and I assure you, it's been by law enforcement. You understand? Like it
there's
has
no
not been
security guard is going
no.
to put some cuffs on detain. Don't you
Absolutely.
go anywhere until the police come. What the fuck?
Who are you talking to? You were not two things. You are not the police, and you are not my father. Okay,
Like, yeah, call me when they come.
right? You know what I'm saying? And it's
And look, I have walked away from plenty of security guards. Like, you gonna do what? Catch me.
and this is the thing, and like, and Killer Mike. I'm gonna get off Killer Mike, but Killer Mike in his one of his Grammy acceptance speeches, I can't prove it, but it sounded like he thanked a bunch of white people. I want to thank Zach and Seth and Josh. And anyway, so I was curious why Killer Mike was not on the horn with his white friends that was inside, right? Like, did you? And he had a white assistant, Jackie, who was absolutely useless in the situation. I said, what in the hell do you have a white person on payroll for if they are not going to extend their whiteness in situations that demand it? You know what I'm saying? Like his white person was supposed to check her white. It was supposed to be a meeting of the. Your white faltered in the moment, Killer Mike. You need to fire that nigga for real. Skyler,
That's just
no, they need not a job. Skylar need not have a job. Skylar failed you in the moment. God
I
damn.
just I really thought when I first heard this that this was somebody saying something slick to Mike and him flying off the handle. I would have had a little bit more respect for him if that had been the reason. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. I understand that this system from top to bottom, they don't care whether they're security guard, mall cops, whatever. They all feel like they're Rambo, you know. So I'm not making fun of that. But you just won. How many Grammys? Were 3 Grammys?
Swept the category.
Just won 3 Grammys. Your big black ass was on that stage accepting those Grammys. You go outside for whatever reason. I don't know. Who cares? But you were just inside winning a Grammy, shouting out all the whites who you wanted to thank and whatnot. And you were not allowed by some security guy. No, I'm sorry. My eventual arrest would have been for a real reason. It would have been for a real reason. I would have had a legit reason to beg for a bail fund. I just
go for the gusto, Jackie. If we going to jail, oh no, we going to jail.
We going to jail. We going for a reason.
We going to jail.
I mean, damn.
I have a question, and you actually you may know the answer to this. So speaking of, white people deputizing themselves to feel as though they have any authority over any black person, over any situation in any region of this country for any reason at all. What was the Supreme Court justice? It was Taney who said the black man has no rights that any white man is bound to respect. Right.
Yep, that's the Dred Scott decision.
Right. So the 1850s Fugitive Slave Act allowed any white person anywhere at any point in time to accost and approach and detain any black person they suspected of being an escaped enslaved person. Did the Fugitive Slave Act ever get repealed, or is it very much still on the books?
Well, on the books is an interesting thing when you're talking about the Constitution. Now, the Fugitive Slave Act is not in the Constitution, but it did get repealed. But
not in the hearts of the whites, though. It's
no, we can't do anything about white people's hearts. They're black ass hearts, not black in a good way like us.
No,
not black and beautiful like, not black and revolutionary like us. No, just like sulfur. That's what
real.
That's what.
Yikes. It got repealed though. Who repealed? When? Like when? Who did that?
Hold on.
I'm curious. Because I said, isn't it amazing? I mean, not to say that white folks in America needed a law to make them feel so emboldened to approach and try to dominate black people socially in that way. But it's like they never let it go. It's like, I feel like a white person would tell me, no, that shit is still the law. And I'm like, and I can't.
Well, in some places they do believe it is. That's the white. That's in white people's heart. They, you walk into a restaurant full of white people, they don't think you belong there, and honestly, why stay? Just please go find you a decent soul food joint with people who don't hate you and want to kill you and throw you in a pot when you walk in.
It's so crazy that I went to Kansas City. No, we was on the Kansas side. Maybe we was in somewhere like Lenexa or one of the little uppity exoburbs on the Kansas side of Kansas City. My partner at the time was Caucasian, and we went into this place, Jackie, in 2015. When I tell you, the restaurant got quiet when we walked in. I'm like, are we the Lovings? Like, what the fuck is going on here? It is Big 2015. And when I tell you, the whites did not conceal their stare. And I sat and ate my food.
Mhm.
Fuck them niggas. I don't care. Y'all can look. I don't whatever. I was checking my food though. It was Hispanics in the kitchen, so I felt safe. But but regardless, the white patrons did not
Mhm.
conceal their stares in the 21st century. I said, "Oh, look at y'all. Let me
Mhm.
get the fuck out of here, actually, out of this
Right.
region." The black people was fine, but I'm telling you that Missouri racism, that shit hits different in the
Mhm.
Midwest. But yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Just the whole thing. So the Fugitive Slave Act was repealed on June 28, 1864.
Really?
That all of the Fugitive Slave Acts, because obviously the Fugitive Slave Act was um, um, enacted just before the end of the no, just before
No.
the Civil War started.
So
So
Lincoln
it
wasn't
was,
president in 1850. Who the fuck was president? Because Lincoln didn't get in till the 1860 election, right?
yeah. So the Fugitive Slave Act was enacted in several states, and not all Southern states either. All
Really?
slave owning states.
That's it? No, are you sure? Because
Mhm.
I thought the Fugitive Slave Act applied to like niggas in New York too, right? Like
But a
because
lot of those states refused to recognize the Fugitive Slave Act. And look, that's a double-edged sword. It wasn't because they like Negroes so much. It was really just like, it was really because they felt like, a lot of the northern states felt like agreeing with the Fugitive Slave Act would give the South more power, and they didn't want to do that. So they didn't want to return escaped slaves to the South, because they wanted to break the South, be
but it was
over the
more like
slave trade, but
private.
not because they hated slavery so much, because they didn't want the South to continue to have the stranglehold on slave labor that it did, because the North benefited from slavery too. They just wanted to find a way to expand slavery in the North without actually having enslaved people. That's it.
But it was mainly private citizens doing the recapturing, so to speak, of former enslaved people or the just outright kidnapping free black people from the north. Like regardless of the state, wanted to acknowledge the law or not, people were still taking it into their own hands to make them a little extra cash to go sell them some black folks, selling black people back down the river. So even if the states in the north didn't acknowledge it, the practice I think was still happening, right?
This is a really a really interesting conundrum, because a lot of the slave catching was done by slave catcher patrols that were instituted in the South. And they would send them all up and down the East Coast and into the Midwest and whatnot to get those escaped enslaved people. But as far as individual citizens, they couldn't be compelled to adhere to the Slave Act. But very often, the slave catchers would bring individual people who didn't return slaves to court, and they get some slap on the wrist. But that was just basically the Southern slave owners taking advantage of the law to the best that they could. Exactly, T.G. Hamilton. That's where modern day cops come from. Slave.
No doubt.
They were, if maybe the first bounty hunters for real, because that stuff they did in the clearing out, the ethnic cleansing of the West. They that they were Indian killers. So
Huh.
we've had slave catchers, Indian killers, deputized gangs of poor white people. This is the thing to understand about slave catching patrols. These were the poor white people from the South who hated the Africans because the Africans were doing all the work and they were doing it for free. So the enslaved people were the enemy. They saw themselves, and the slave masters told the poor white people that the slaves are your enemy. They want to take your jobs. At least we're controlling them and provide, you know, you don't want slavery to go away. All of a sudden, you're going to have to compete with these ignorant Negroes for your rightful jobs. But when they weren't providing jobs for the poor white people in the first place. But
Well, their job was to catch these
and
these
that's but
runaways.
that's but that's what I'm saying. When I encourage people to read. It's a big book. It is very, it's a lot. And I actually have it right here because I'm always referencing it. I'm
What's
always,
that?
I need people to read this book.
It's a glare. What's the title say?
W.E.B. Du Bois, Black Construction in America from 1860 to 1880.
Black
This
construction.
this book is this big. It is this big. And it's this big for a reason. It has some incredible history that I have not read about um, in regard to construction, to reconstruction. Um, oh Lord, that it was a history of the Black participation in Reconstruction that all the historians of Reconstruction never paid any attention to, because who cared about, you know, the Black participation in Reconstruction. So that book has helped me a lot, kind of untangle where this whole um, antagonism between white working class and poor people and Black working class and poor people, and it has everything to do with racism. The bosses they have an easier time convincing working class and poor white people that their stake, they have a better chance at success if they align with the bosses. But all working class people have everything in common with each other, and we have nothing in common with the bosses. So Du Bois does a really good job in explaining kind of how the fugitive slave act worked, how it didn't work, and where it didn't work because the people wouldn't adhere to it, um, and and how far slave owners went to in the slave owning states to keep their enslaved people. I mean, white people in a lot of places of this country, even though they may not have wanted to be, you know, capturing and dragging people who escaped slavery themselves, because you know they hated Black people, so they didn't really want to get tangled up with us too much. What they would do is accuse a Black person of being a slave, a
Mm,
runaway slave, even in states where Blacks were free. So you
Delaware
got,
was
yeah, so
notorious
you,
for
well,
that.
oh, well, it wasn't, so
Just,
you,
but yes.
yeah, so you know, you had free Black people who were lived, born in free states that were not slave states, um, paid for their freedom, you know, maybe paid for their family's freedom too. Any random person could accuse a Black person just walking down the street of being an escaped slave, and it was on the Black person to have documentation and proof that they were not. And sometimes they didn't even care about that.
Hey,
So
12 Years a Slave was a horror movie, son. Like 12 Years a Slave was the scariest goddamn movie I ever saw in my life. I said, "Oh, woo." Just putting yourself in
mhm,
the shoes of the ancestors that endured any aspect of slavery, but to be born free or to have acquired your freedom and to just have it snatched away and stolen, some indefinitely, not 12 years, some for the rest of their lives, and then their children, and then just, oh man, like it's a the worst system, the absolute
mhm.
worst system, and it teases you in that way now, right? You can somewhat achieve your freedom if you aspire to some sort of middle class bourgeoisie status, but you know, a la say like a Marilyn and Mosby, you know what I mean?
Right.
Don't fuck around and be moving out here like white folks, because they're not only will they snatch your livelihood, they will put you in jail. They will take all your freedoms away, sell you right down the river.
Mhm. I mean, and we see white people continuing to act this way. This is too ingrained in any white supremacist settler colonial project. I don't care if it's England. I don't care if it's France.
Mm.
Yeah, at some point they're gonna treat you exactly how they feel about you. And we see how we have been treated. We weren't in these people's minds, we weren't even free. If we were.
What?
Hmm.
You just temporarily not in chains.
That's all. And we're gonna try to send you back to them chains. So
Oh, he
yeah,
needs the first chance.
so the Fugitive Slave Act was federal legislation, but
Mhm.
not all of the states adhered to the law because some states didn't want to be involved in it. Some people who were the leaders in some states didn't want to be involved in the slave trade at all. They didn't
Mhm.
want um, uh, they didn't want slavery established in their states. That's why there were so many battles fought um, over Mexico because Mexico refused to be a part, first of all, because it was fucking Mexico and the US wanted to steal it.
Mhm.
And then instead of making a deal over the land that the US wanted, when the Mexican government said, we are not participating in the slave trade, you are not bringing that shit down here. And the US government said, yeah, we don't care what you think about what we're going to do with slavery. We don't care. So they went to war with Mexico.
Mhm.
And that's how the US acquired Texas, California, uh yeah, Texas, California, where else?
What about Zona and New Mexico? Is that how they came into the
Yeah, I
what was
think yeah, I
the
think
gas
it was Arizona
purchase?
also and
Yeah.
New Mexico. Yeah, so there were some states that did not adhere to the Fugitive Slave Act, but it was
Mhm.
very real and very terrifying thing. And
Mhm.
just another way for because let me say this, even though the Fugitive Slave Act was not adhered to by every state, that does not mean the white people in those states wanted us in those states either, right? Because Oregon, I think Oregon was not a slave state, if I'm remembering. But when the Civil War was over, what happened was that a lot of these free states then began to enact legislation in their state constitutions that free black people could not settle in their states. They
Mhm.
created sundown towns in those states that never had slavery, right? They did all of that. They did redlining and all. They kept blacks out of certain jobs and all of that. So like when I say that some states did not adhere to the Fugitive Slave Act, I'm not trying to say that white people were nice to black people everywhere there
Mm.
was not slavery. That is not what I'm trying to say. Because when the Civil War was over, those white folks in those states enacted laws in their individual states, not federal laws, but enacted laws in their individual states to keep black people from moving into their states. So no, please don't think I'm saying that white people were nice just because the Fugitive Slave Act wasn't adhered to in their state. No.
Even the Quakers? Were the
No,
Quakers
actually,
shout out to the Pennsylvanians. What's up, Quakers? Shout out
well,
to Quaker herself, anarchist socialist.
well, you know
So
what?
were the Quakers nice, or they just did they tolerate us, or were they friendly?
Listen, you have to keep this in mind about white people in this country. And I don't care what those white people did. I don't you have to keep in mind that they may have opposed slavery for the right reasons or moral grounds because it's an affront to God and all this kind of stuff. And I'm my brother's keeper, blah, blah, blah. But there was even a schism in the Quaker church about what to do with the Africans after the Civil War. So there was this very weird things. Thank you, Infinite Context. The Friends were abolitionists, but some of the Quakers had slaves too. And there
Mm,
was a
I
big
didn't think there was
fight.
slavery in Pennsylvania. I thought Pennsylvania was one of those states that was not, they didn't do the slavery.
I don't know.
I knew
Look.
they did slavery in New York State, in New York
Hmm.
City, but I didn't know they
Oh,
did the slavery. I guess at some point they did, but shit.
I
I don't
mean,
like
it's hard to keep the chronology
oh, Jesus.
in check because it's a lot. It is a lot of history, and we have gotten for too long. We've gotten like the 10,000 foot view of the history. We have not really delved into what really happened, who really did what, and what was done, how it impacted us as a people. Excuse me, as a people. Um, because when I talk about the schism within the Quakers over whether they're going to be abolitionists or whether they're going to be equal rights for former slaves too, because not all abolitionists believe that Black people were equal to white people.
They just didn't think that
So
we
they
should be
they may
enslaved.
have wanted they may have wanted to abolish slavery because slavery, owning another human being, denying them their free will, is evil and it's a sin. But that does not mean they felt that those people were equal to them and deserved to be treated in society like, they didn't want that. Not all of them wanted us to have the same rights they did.
We still see that in white liberalism still.
Exactly.
Right? It's like,
Exactly.
no, I don't
Exactly.
think I think Black people should be able to go to school, but no, they should live over here. Don't let them
Exactly.
live over here. No, they should be
Right.
free. Yeah, but not over here though.
But
You know
not
what I'm
here.
saying? Like, man,
Let's see.
these
Oh,
folks have been consistent. Oh, if they've been nothing else, they have definitely been consistent over the
they've been
deep.
consistent, and we keep acting like we don't know these people.
Mm,
we,
mm-mm,
we know
mm-mm,
these people better
mm.
than they do.
That is
And we
correct.
just keep acting like we don't know how they are. And I don't understand this.
Mm,
Why are you always surprised when they do some fucked up shit? That's what they I, that's what settler
not me.
colonialists do. That's what they do. That's what settler colonialism is. Somebody has to be on the bottom of the pyramid. Somebody has to be oppressed. Somebody has to be cheap labor.
Mm,
Somebody has to lose their land for a settler colonialist to be happy.
mm. Did you see the clip yesterday going around of Chris Van Hollen, the Maryland Democratic senator, laying out with perfect articulate, not perfect, but with better articulation than you would expect from a Democrat about the realities and the horrors that is happening right now to the Palestinians, and then this motherfucker turn around and vote immediately in favor of more funding
See,
for Israel and voted
see,
to cut aid going to Gaza. Like,
see.
nigga, you understand the problem. Oh, you get
Uh-huh.
you
Uh-huh.
overstand the problem. Oh, you
Mhm.
really you get it. And look how you
Right.
move. Look at your
Mhm.
actions. Look at what you
Yep.
do with your deeds. Fuck your words. Look at your deeds out here.
Mhm.
Democrats. Democrats.
That's it. What did Malcolm say? What did he say?
Don't
Thank
trust
you,
them.
ZZ Lion Dad, for dropping us $20. Thank you so much. ZZ Lion Dad said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. And that is a quote attributed to Lyndon B. Johnson.
Damn.
Mhm. I don't know why I always thought Nixon said that, but they were
Mm.
equally equal. So
But that
doesn't matter.
sound wait, but I feel like Johnson came with some Southern man
No.
wisdom right there. You
He
know what I
was
mean?
Lyndon Johnson was I would say he was the last president who actually realized he had to do something about social issues
Mm.
if he wanted a country left, if he wanted there to still be a union. So that's where he came with his what is the name of that piece of legislation that he oh, somebody help me out. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. That's what it
Right.
was.
That's what it
His
was.
Yes, he called it was the Great Society plan, that this vision he had for America, and he had all kinds of he had employment package, he had welfare reform, and not the welfare reform that Clinton gave us, but
Mhm.
actually feeding people, housing reform, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and um that was already making the Southern Republicans, well, the Southern Democrats at that point. I forget they flipped
Dixiecrats.
parties because of this. the people who are now the Republicans left the Democratic Party because Lyndon Johnson passed all of this legislation for the Great Society, and he signed the Civil Rights Act. And understand, Johnson didn't pass this legislation because he loved Black people. He liked calling Black people nigger a lot. And I mean, folks in the White House, in the press box, in the it didn't care. He did not care. But even he recognized that he had to do something about the unrest in the streets. That Black folks were certainly turning out on, and had every right to, because an oppressed people has a right to defend ourselves. And it was the US government who has been oppressing us. And Johnson realized that after the assassination of Kennedy, after the assassination had King been assassinated by then? I'm getting all my dates mixed up.
No,
68? No.
63 was Kennedy.
Right.
Then RFK was when
RFK was,
and Martin King was in
right.
68, right?
Right. So Johnson was like, I am sitting on a powder keg, and I have to do something to take the pressure off, to let some of this steam out of this pressure cooker in this country, or else we're going to have war in the streets. I mean, this time a real war in the streets. So he passed that legislation because he had to, because the people in the streets were telling him, keep not doing something about these issues, and we just going to burn the shit down because it's not ours. You stole it, and you forced us to live in these conditions. So I'm not even gonna be mad that you're gonna talk about, oh, you burn your neighborhood down. No, it's your neighborhood. This is where you told us we couldn't go any farther than. And then you didn't let any services in here, except for exploitative ones. So Johnson was really trying to avoid that. He knew when he signed this legislation for the Great Society, and he signed the Civil Rights Act, even though we know that the Civil Rights Act was a watered down piece of what is that? What did it do? It didn't do a whole lot for us. It was absolutely symbolic, mostly. But by signing this legislation, Johnson knew two things. Number one, he knew that it would be good for his legacy. And really, that's all presidents ever become president to do. They only want to be president to cement their legacy. They're really not caring about doing anything for the people. Johnson understood that he had to do something, because if he didn't, he would be voted out of office. But if he did sign the legislation, he would only be a one-term president anyway, because the Southern Democrats, once he passed the Civil Rights Act, they were planning to not run him as the nominee for re-election. So he knew he was going to be a one-term president. His question for him was, what do I want to be remembered for? And so his role in the Vietnam War almost gets overshadowed when people talk about the civil rights legislation Lyndon Johnson passed, as if the civil rights legislation had more of an impact on us than the war in Vietnam. That it is insane that we don't tell the truth about who Lyndon Johnson was. That man was not like a friend to Black people. I mean, I believe he told Martin Luther King Jr. when Dr. King visiting the White House to speak to Johnson about the Civil Rights Act. And, King is telling him about the desperation in the Black neighborhoods, and people who see the inequality, they see the wealth, less than 5 miles away in a city that they can't live in, because they can't afford it. And, the cops don't, you can't be in those neighborhoods without being targeted by the cops. And, King is telling him all this stuff. And Lyndon Johnson says to King, if I'm remembering this correctly, Lyndon gets pissed off and tells King, well, you make me do it then. He's the president of the United States. Nobody had to make him do shit. Nobody had to come to the White House and tell him, look here, Lyndon Johnson, if you don't pass this bullshit civil rights legislation, it's going to be hell to pay. All they had to do was sign it. And he had to make a lot of backroom deals with the Southern Democrats to get them not to vote against it. They all didn't not vote against it. Many of them did. But please stop thinking of Lyndon Johnson as this president who felt for the plight of Black Americans. No, he didn't.
Was it what was it? The Kerner report? Was that commissioned under Johnson's administration?
Yep. It was commissioned under Johnson. Was it released under Nixon?
Might have been released under Nixon.
No. It wasn't. It was commissioned under Johnson. And I think it was released under Johnson, but it really got more attention in the Nixon administration. Because of course, and I should do a show on that because I love the Kerner Commission. I hate that people don't know what the Kerner Commission is. There are some really
time that this country really took a serious examination. Like it read very truthfully. You know, it's like this case, the government wrote this, or you're
I mean, it was that there were two major documents that I am fascinated by the history of these documents, and it's probably really three or four, but it was the Kerner report and the Kerner Commission report and the Moynihan report.
Mm-hmm.
They, I think, are incredibly important documents. If you really want to understand why we always say Democrats and Republicans are the same. I mean, what we're seeing now is finally the corruption has gotten so deep and so bad, and at the root of everything that happens in on Capitol Hill, that we forget that this is the same administration. These people belong to, they are employed by, they are ideologically in support of the capitalist imperialist dictatorship in this country. There's no people, we're always saying there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's no ethical politician under capitalism. That I don't get. Voting is great. I don't know what voting is gonna get you under a capitalist imperialist system. I don't know what people think they're going to get from that. But if they really read these reports and the Church Committee report, and what is the other one? I can't remember it right now. But you have to read these documents to understand what both parties think of us. If you haven't already figured it out, you have to know that the Democrats are just as responsible for the continued oppression that we are under. They have been just as complicit in dialing back what they will do, what they will allow to be done for the Negroes in these pieces of legislation. And over the years, we've examined the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Housing Rights Act, and all of that. And we act as if there was some weird disconnected incident. Like we had politicians that used to be halfway decent. No, we didn't.
Never. Not a
No, we didn't.
And when you see the ways in which, number one, Democrats continue to shirk any sort of accountability to Black people as a voting bloc until it comes time for the presidential election, they don't do nothing to address any of our issues in between or even at the point in time. They just start paying us attention, right? They just start showing up in Black churches. They just start demanding and start guilting us out of our vote. But the ways in which Joe Biden has threads to all of this history. I mean, you talk about when the Dixiecrats switched from being Southern Democrats to Republicans, I'm thinking the Strom Thurmond was right there. Strom Thurmond
Precisely.
was a Democrat and then switched to the Republican Party. And who is Strom Thurmond's boy? Joe Biden.
That's right.
That was his boy.
That's
Joe
right.
Biden. Joe Biden to this day pines for the days that Republicans and Democrats could reach across the aisle and talk to each other. Not the MAGA Republicans. Nigga, you used to kick it with Strom Thurmond. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Uh-huh. Strom Thurmond. Eastland. I can never remember his first name.
My man,
Uh,
Robert Byrd from out there,
yo.
the Klansman, actual.
And see, this is what when people look at, and I know we're just riffing right now, but I don't, because I don't understand what people are looking at when they say that one president was better than another president. Who you, how long you been black? I need to know, how long have you been black to believe that? Because you cannot have been black the entire time we've had presidents in this country. You cannot have been black and known that that Richard Nixon, all of the programs that Lyndon Johnson implemented in the Great Society plan, Nixon overturned. Everything that Nixon put into place that was helping, regular folks even a little bit. Because the Great Society plan, it was nice for its time, but we're going to need a whole lot more than that now. But when Nixon got into office, he ran on the Dixiecrat platform. The niggas getting too much, and we need to be tough on crime, and nobody's going to get anything for free in this country. All you have to do is work hard. So all of the Great Society programs that Johnson put in place, because Black folks in the street were pushing him to. And even though, and I think Piper pointed out in a comment a little bit earlier that as much as the civil rights movement really did push Lyndon Johnson to sign some legislation, or else they were still going to be in the streets and stay in the streets. What the Democrats did, because remember, they're still Southern Democrats, they gutted the legislation right before Johnson signed it. And then
was that when Thurmond famously filibustered for whatever the record was? He filibustered the Civil Rights Act.
I think it was. Yeah, they pulled a lot of shenanigans to make sure that didn't pass. And politically, it just could not pass because everybody could see what was going on at that point. And then after Johnson doesn't run for a second term, this is how Nixon becomes president. And then Nixon overturns all of these Great Society legislation. And it was Richard Nixon who came up with Black capitalism in order to help the Blacks, because this society has been unfair to them, and the way we can really ensure Black equality is through Black business. That was Richard Nixon. So there were no programs.
Black celebrities. Come on, Black celebrities. James Brown, this one, that one. Help me push this message of Black capitalism to your people. And James Brown said, "Yes, sir, boss." Say it loud.
And then he had what did Jared say? He had the kids singing "I'm Black and I'm Proud" because he won't go do it.
Right. Wow.
Oh my God. So it was after that. That the Southern strategy was implemented and solidified during, I think, probably, I would say they would think it was most successful with the election of Ronald Reagan. And this was, of course, after Carter's administration, where people were like, oh, Carter's administration was a disaster. Well, not for the reasons people think. I mean, Carter did not do a great job with some foreign policy stuff, really, really horrible, dangerous stuff. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think
Hostages. Wasn't it
they,
hostages?
well, I mean, the hostages, I'm
When
like, look,
Jackie said,
no.
when aren't there hostages?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Iran hostage crisis. So the people in Iran were upset at imperialist intervention. They did not like all these fucking US and European people in Iran because remember, it was a coup backed by the United States that
Shaw.
created the situation for the Shahs.
Hmm.
Okay.
In Iran, the Iranians was like, we seen this movie. We
No,
seen Argo.
well, no, we're not doing this. But so the students from the university, I think they come in, they take over the embassy or whatever, and I wasn't even mad because you know what the first thing they did? They went in and they said, "Okay, we're taking hostages, except for you five. No, you, our African brothers and sisters, you can go home. That we ain't got no beef with you. We know your country has fucked you over really bad. You please go home. Do you need an airline ticket? We'll make sure you get home." That's you know.
Gotta say, I love
And I
going
was
to
like,
non-white countries as a Black American because it's weird. Like you do get American privilege, but you get that, you know, you get that knowing from that other Black or brown person. Like, listen, I see this American passport, but I know it ain't getting no crystal stale over there.
yep,
So
yep. And
come on, I got you. I got
I was
you.
so tickled. I was in, what was I in high school? There,
Oh
and we're
wow.
watching the news, and I am just sitting there laughing. And my mom is like, "Why are you laughing? This is not a laughing matter. Why are you laughing at those poor people taken hostage?" I'm like, "Mama, we ain't being taken hostage."
That's Ben Affleck and then Matt Damon getting took hostage over there.
Didn't you just hear that they let all the black folks go? We ain't being taken hostage. So as I don't, whatever these people do in Iran, if the US says they're dangerous terrorists, I don't believe them because they let the Africans go. I don't, nah. The oppressed know the oppressed. So no, they
Mhm.
were like, no, just go home. This doesn't involve you.
Our beef is not with you,
Mm-mm.
brothers.
Yep. And now, of course, we didn't learn from that. We didn't learn from that moment. And now we got a bunch of black folks and at the top of government that we're
Mm.
supposed to celebrate as the first black. We already had the first black imperialists destroy Libya. So I mean,
Yup. Way to go, Obama. Thanks, Obama. Did you see they done bullied that Lloyd Austin asked and went back to the hospital because they have bullied this man up out of his hospital bed with this man that said that he had cancer, and the cracker said, "You must bring your black ass to work." And Lloyd Austin got his ass up out of his hospital bed and went to work. And now his goofy ass is back in the hospital. Sir, why you gonna let these white folks run you ragged? Well, you know what? I think it might be what you deserve. It could possibly might be what you deserve. You let these white folks work you to literal death. Good luck.
I mean, the first time he went in the hospital, I said, well, that's it for him. He's going to be retiring for medical reasons
Mm-mm.
pretty soon. But no,
Mm.
no, no. He says now, let me see, where is the thing? Where is my Sherry
You know
thing? There it
Lloyd can't retire now, Jackie.
is.
The shit is the block is hot right now, Jackie. He cannot retire now. They're not gonna Joe Biden wouldn't accept his resignation or retirement
Uh-uh.
right now.
No, because Biden is like, I need a sword to fall. I need somebody to fall on the sword when the time comes. Because I won't be here.
Sheesh. Yep, I need to have a nice collection of the first blacks to blame when as shit falls down. When let's blame the first black
Ugh.
secretary, the first and the first black vice president, and the first black. Blame all these
Mm.
first blacks.
Look at this. He said, Defense Secretary Lord Austin was released from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center Tuesday, ending a brief admission that it began on Sunday. Austin is well and resumed his full functions and duties Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Who gets out of the hospital and goes back to work at 5 p.m.? What
This boss man, the overseer. That's who.
kind of
Look at Lloyd. Look at Lloyd. Lloyd. Now you know Lloyd had to been feeling terrible to go into the hospital on Super Bowl Sunday. Do you know how bad Lloyd must have been feeling to go to the hospital during the Super Bowl? He must have awful, awful. I
oh
know
my
what it
God.
was, but though it was, I hope it was some sort of some karmic energies reaching from Gaza that fucking grabbed
Man,
a hold of his
please,
prostate and twisted that shit up in his innards and made him feel
please, man.
yeah, sir, you should have felt bad on that Super Bowl Sunday.
Mm-mm.
Look at the universe
Damn
dealing with
Super
you.
Bowl massacre,
That's
helping them
right.
bastards do. Oh, ooh, Piper. Thank you so much, Piper. 1999 sticky. She said, can we be honest about the marketing of Black capitalism that was done on Black folks by Nixon's administration and how destructive it was? It was the
Piper.
left hook to COINTELPRO. Y'all,
Ooh, talk to him, PC. Come cut your camera on. What you doing?
yeah. Yes,
Forward her
yes,
the
madam.
link.
Yes, madam.
Get PC up here, man.
Mm.
PCP out this junk. Jackie, you from DC, you know all about it.
I would rather not remember that era.
The
I'm
Piper Carter
naturally kind of
podcast.
curious, but I mean, you only got to see somebody go through a bad trip one time, be like,
I do not know how dippers recruit new members. Like I don't how
you took that willingly and you knew that was going
how does PCP, like, because people don't understand, like, in this area, and it's, whatever, but generations, literally, y'all, like,
to.
people have been smoking PCP around here for a long time. And it's weird when I see people my age, I'm like, but I know they started smoking dippers when they was young, and it's like, but
And
you
they're
see
just,
old
yeah,
people
they're just
smoke
addicted
dippers
now.
too.
They can't stop. They need it to survive
Shit.
at this point.
It's like, how do you get how does new recruits, how does PCP still get new recruit? I'd be wondering about the harder drugs. It's like by now, and we all should know. And then especially with the fentanyl, Lord have mercy. Ooh, anyway,
Yeah,
but
I mean, some people's, haven't understood because I didn't always understand addiction, and we don't in general, and because we were, talking about um, the marketing that was done on Black folks um, of Black capitalism, but and I definitely want to get back to that in a second, but the way we were demonized in the media because of the crack epidemic. And it's still like when I see people still, still strung out,
on
I
crack.
understand. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I see you don't hear about crack addiction as much because it's more believed that people have either transitioned to pills or to methamphetamines.
No, no,
But so
that no, there is still, and this is kind of the thing. It's like drugs don't go out of style, right? I don't know why we think that, people, addicts are just not doing that drug anymore. That's not how it works at all. Um, and crack is, I've talked about this a couple of times before. Crack addiction is very different from, weed. It doesn't, there is a chemical change in your brain that the cocaine does much faster than it would do if you were snorting it. The same thing happens when you smoke cocaine. The same thing happens when you smoke heroin.
mm,
It's a different high than when you shoot up. It's because you're smoking the drugs, so the chemicals get into your brain stem and your bloodstream a lot faster than if you took a pill, even if you shot up. So the high is more intense. That first high is incredibly intense, and doctors have done brain mapping of people who have who, have a problem with certain drugs, different drugs, and the way the brain responds to smoked drugs, cocaine, heroin, um, almost anything smoked other than, like marijuana, that we're talking about something that grows, but we're talking about other drugs that you need a chemical compound to create, right? Because there's lye and shit in cocaine. And then then the way they cook it up changes the chemical composition again. So it's a different thing than just a poppy flower, right? Or just a coca leaf. So the brain really responds to cocaine smoke, to heroin smoke, because the area of your brain that controls your pleasure center, that tells you when something feels good, it is inundated by more dopamine than anything you could ever do naturally. Anything. So when addicts say a high is better than sex, they mean it. And they may not understand the science behind it, but your brain really is deeply impacted and in some ways changed. Your brain chemistry is changed if you smoke these drugs than if you would shoot them up. That doesn't mean that shooting them up is better or it's safer. It's a different kind of high. You'll get just as addicted, but the high is different. The high, it is very different. And I definitely learned a lot through, I'm not shy about it, and I'm certainly not ashamed about it. I learned all of this through, standing by my husband through his struggles. Um, and it's, I get that we still have a lot of that old indoctrination about ourselves. Whether it's, the indoctrination that Piper was talking about, that the Nixon administration really, really did. I feel like the first time I saw Black people in commercials was during the Nixon administration. And they were like hawking, businesses and Black business owners and all of this kind of stuff. Um, the same way that we are still fighting with that indoctrination of, capitalism is going to save us. We're still fighting with the indoctrination and the, excuse me, demonization of our people with drug and alcohol addiction. It's still like this taboo, shameful thing that we don't like to deal with. And it
You don't think that
we
people are more willing to have those conversations now about addiction? I find in the conversations like there is probably less demonization than I can remember around drug addicted folks in the 90s. Like there was no compassion, right? There was no compassion for crack addicts. They were crackheads, crack whores, crack this, crack that. In DC was crack, Baltimore was heroin, and you would see
Mhm.
people literally nodding out in the streets in it just in any intersection in Baltimore. It was horrific. And it was not compassion for these folks. It was not services available for these folks, and even more condemnation really from those in the community around them. But I seem to hear a little bit more compassion and sympathy for people who are dealing with drug addiction now. Do you think that there has been a shift in at least the feelings and the attitudes from our people towards our people who are dealing with
No,
addiction?
I
No.
don't. I think there may have been a little bit of maturity, but I still see a lot of our people really looking down on people who are struggling with addiction. Um, it's the change, the sympathy came from not people looking at our plight and saying, "Man, damn, that was fucked up. What was done." I mean, the CIA is bringing this in, and there no job, all the jobs are gone, and
Mhm.
what are people supposed to? People are living in absolute misery. What are people supposed to do? No, that sympathy came from the opioid crisis. That's where that
Mm.
sympathy came from. Because to this day, you get people talking about you can get people talking about the opioid crisis with a lot of sympathy, but they will never bring up crack.
Hmm.
Never, never bring up crack. Because see, crack was considered to be, poor black people's drug, right? And I knew people who were they were on heroin. They were already, deep into addiction, but they were still denying that they were addicted, and they wouldn't do crack. They're like, "Oh no, I don't do that. That's crackhead's drug."
Oh, shit.
You know. So I mean, and I think that I'm so uh I don't know what the word is for it. My response to any kind of judgment of people with addiction is pretty consistent. I don't like I don't like judging people who have problems that I don't know anything about. And if I had them, I have no idea how I would handle the hell that they've been through, because addiction mostly is, if people don't if people aren't introduced to drugs like at parties like we were when we were kids, and it was usually weed, sometimes speed, but mostly how most adults become addicted, it's because of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It is because of trauma that they cannot handle. They cannot deal with the horrible reality they live in, and they don't have any psychological coping skills. They don't know what to do. They just know they don't want to feel like shit all the time. So, they might do a little something just to stop thinking about and feeling everything they have to deal with. And of course, who hasn't said I can stop when I want to? But no addict understands how the addiction works. Everybody thinks they can stop when they want to.
Hmm.
Some people actually do. Most don't. There's a reason for that. All these addicts are not mindless, silly, careless people who don't care about themselves or their loved ones. They're stuck. They're traumatized, and they're probably going through some shit that you and I have never seen, and would probably hit the pipe if we had to go through it too. Because let me tell y'all, this past couple of years, do not think I have not thought about what I did when my mom died. Suddenly, when I was 28, uh, I pretty much closed myself up in the house and drank myself into a 3-year blackout. So don't tell me that life can't get so fucked up that you can't handle it, and then you turn to something that at least makes you feel less like shit. That's
But
so I can't judge people who
no,
have
absolutely
addictions.
not.
Um,
Um, we lost a friend last year to an overdose, and this is somebody that I've known since high school. And right after high school, they again to my shock, even still 20 plus years later, to my shock, at 17, 18, 19 years old, became crack addicted, right? And fought with that addiction on and off for many years. Throughout this time, this person still was what I would consider to be a functioning crack addict. They worked, kept a job, kept a place, but really, really struggled with this addiction.
mhm,
And here we are in our mid 40s, and this person doing drugs with another long-term drug user that I know who is also my age. Um, think that we're not exactly sure what happened. We're not sure if they got some fentanyl. We're not sure if they intentionally got the fentanyl, right? Because some people out here looking for the fentanyl.
mhm,
But long story short, they found him. He was unresponsive, and this was probably one of at least 5 people that I know, my age mates, people I grew up with, who have died of drug overdoses from fentanyl to combining Xanax and alcohol. Like, I know people that are gone from out of here from things that they wouldn't even really consider addiction. They thought they were just partying, right? They thought they was just, doing a bump, and come to find out it was laced. But what I was so disappointed about this first friend that I was describing, I'm like, listen, if y'all gonna be out here like that, doing that, you gotta have the resuscitation drug, the naloxone, like, and that's something I think that we need to push way more on our folks. Like, even if you're not in spaces with people who have drug addictions, you could encounter a situation out in the street. Like, we need to have this life-saving stuff on us, and it doesn't even require much training. I think they've even brought the training requisites down for the naloxone way down, right? Like,
Hmm.
it, my family member who recently had surgery got prescribed an opiate, and they prescribed this person the naloxone too, and made sure I knew how to use the shit. I said,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, it's serious." So anyway, like, to your point, Jackie, I don't even know, will naloxone resuscitate someone that is experiencing a crack overdose, or is that just for opiates? It might be just for opiates.
I
I don't
I
want to give out
believe
specific.
it's just for opiates. Um, and and there's not it's not the that's not the only one, naloxone. It's there's another one, Narcan.
Narcan, right? Narcan,
And I
yeah.
don't know how much these things cost. Because I know at one point cost was a problem because
That's
they were,
right.
of course, charging way too much money, for the what was it, like $75 for
In
something
that
like that?
neighborhood, but I think
Yeah.
now a lot of health departments keep it on hand. I even think
Hmm.
DC government has Narcan or Naxalone available, like, in a vending machines around the city, that give out, things for people that are on the streets, or people that may be unhoused. So I
Hmm.
think, like, local governments are trying to make it more accessible and either cost effective or outright free, if I'm not mistaken. Chat, if you are aware of where they give out the Narcan or Naxalone for free or low cost, drop it in the chat, please and thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And Narcan or naloxone, they are both only for opioids.
Okay.
See?
Okay.
See? See how the
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
do? See
Yeah. I
how it
see it.
is?
I see it.
When the white folks,
Mm.
when their kids were strung out on meth, then when they became strung out on meth, then the pharmaceutical industry, oh, somehow they found a treatment for opioid overdose that can only be used on opioids, cannot
Mm.
be used on any other
Yeah.
and the way and the reason I do talk about this all the time is because I not only did my husband suffer with um substance abuse, he was also he had bipolar disorder that had never been diagnosed, never. And learning that if you have a mental disorder like bipolar disorder, um that makes it almost impossible to get clean if your mental disorder is not treated. And his wasn't for 30 years.
Mm.
So the first time he saw a psychiatrist was when he was married to me a couple of years ago. Well, actually, not. It was what? It was 2019, I think. Um, he went to a psychiatrist, and the guy was like, "This is classic bipolar." He said, and he asked him, he said, "You didn't know you were bipolar?" And he said, "No, I've never been diagnosed." And he's like, well, how does this get missed? And he's like, "Well, I'm a poor black man living in the United States. I don't have good insurance." Well, I do now because of my wife, but I never had good insurance. And I've been to rehab centers, and they don't have
Mm.
counseling in a lot of them. And if you ask for it, they act like you asking for something you don't deserve.
Mhm.
So here this man is one of the smartest people I have ever met in my life. Anybody who can teach themselves Arabic, reading and writing it,
Mm.
all by himself, and
Damn.
becomes an imam. How you
That takes
the
brains, as grandmama would say.
the smartest, just undeniably one of the smartest, one of the most creative, one of the sweetest men I have ever known. And he was that. But when he relapsed, it was bad. And he didn't understand why he couldn't stop because he wanted to so bad. But then he got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Then we understood, oh, that's why you need to take medication for your bipolar disorder. And so, he developed throughout the years, he developed a heart condition. Um, contributed to, I don't know if the substance abuse caused the heart condition or if it was a heart condition that the substance abuse made worse. But he had a heart condition that he did not tell me about. So he knew he was not going to be here long. He knew that.
Oh, wow.
Because his dad helped him make sure that he had a life insurance policy when he died. So, and I asked his dad, I'm like, but how did you know that? He said, because he told me, and he told me not to tell you. So,
oh, wow.
There's a whole, I can't get into that, but I can't throw away our people, even the really messy ones, even and it's not. When I say that we need to have compassion with people, look, I'm not telling you to invite people to live with you. I'm not telling you to adopt a person, right? But at least stop looking at people who are struggling with addiction as if they're not worthy of your respect as a human being. I mean, you don't have to like what they do. I didn't understand what was going on at first. I didn't like what was going on at first. And I was pretty pissed off a couple of times. But I was never so pissed off at him that I did not respect that man. And for a lot of people struggling with addiction, it's the judgment and the disrespect that is so hurtful to them because they're already ashamed. They already don't want to be addicts. They don't know how they can stop. So they're angry and frustrated with themselves. Then they need something to make them not feel so bad. Because if they don't take anything, then they'll probably kill themselves because they're so damn depressed. And it just, they don't need that extra. Trust me when I tell you, people who are struggling with addiction don't need the extra judgment from you because they are judging themselves really harshly, really harshly. And nobody grows up wanting to be an addict. Nobody does. What we know it takes to help people overcome addiction is not what's being provided in rehabs at all. Doctors and medical personnel have known for decades that it takes at least a year for the person who is addicted to crack and smoked heroin. It takes them at least a year not having the drug in their system before they can even begin to say you're healing, because it takes that long for your brain to rewire itself and heal itself from the physical damage those drugs do to the brain. But rehabs in this country, 30 days, 60 days, maybe 90 days. And that's with full insurance coverage. So you still have to pay $5,000 at least. And if you want counseling for your loved one or yourself, you have to pay extra for that. They have drugs that can help with the cravings. You have to pay more for that.
And that's why so many people end up repeating rehab numerous times because the process itself is inadequate the first time, right? The second time.
They know this. They know this. They, meaning the medical establishment, they know this. They know they're giving people a Band-Aid because they know that those people will come back.
That's right.
so they're not really trying to help people get clean. They're just waiting for the next group to come back and
It-
relapse if they live.
repeat customers. The
Yeah,
capitalist way, right, Jackie? It's not
it
about killing
is.
people. It's about how many times you could get the same person to walk through the door to pay the same amount. So
Hmm.
yeah, you
Hmm.
can
And
maximize profit.
yeah, and it was Abdus's experience. I'm so sorry. Sorry, I just monopolized this whole show. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. It's miércoles de las mujeres. Bienvenidos, todo mi gente.
You know,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah, don't forget. But Abdus's experience in the good rehab up here.
Okay.
um,
The good
yeah,
rehab.
I was
Mhm,
like, look, I don't. He went to one rehab that was free, and it
mhm,
was like, yeah,
mhm,
oh, this place is sketchy.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't like it. But then he said, well, let me try something different. Let me try, this other like rehab that's in Maryland.
Mhm.
Um, what is the name of this place? Rehab Centers of America. That's what it's a big old chain. It's a national chain
I've
of
heard
rehab
of that.
centers. You know where it is. Uh-huh. Yep.
What you trying to say,
What?
Jackie? First of all, I do
No,
not know where it is.
no, because it's a big, huge building off of, oh shit, what is that?
Jackie said she seen me in there. I said, "Stop lying. You ain't see me in there, Jackie. I'm just a pothead now."
I saw you leaving when I was dropping him off, and I ain't say nothing. No.
I saw you. I saw you. Remember that line? Anyway. Remember Women of Brewster's Place? Just to get way off topic, but I saw you. I saw you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But okay, so Rehab Centers of America, it is a franchise. It is a
It's a
chain.
franchise. And his experience there really just really, really opened my eyes to how much of a capitalist it's like rehab is like everything else in this capitalist system. Everything. It is exploitative,
Mm.
you know. So
You
he
want to be
said that
clean
when
or
he
you want to be
went,
clean, clean? We got the extra clean package for 25K. The
no,
clean
it's not.
package is
And that's the
7,500.
thing. It's not. It's not even that.
You want
When
to be
when
squeaky
I
clean, that'd be 50,000.
when he found out how much it was, he was like, Jackie, I'm not doing this. I'm like,
Mm,
you are gonna stay your ass in that joint for 90 days. That's what you're
mm,
gonna do. We can't afford it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I will eat oodles and noodles for the next 5 years if I have to. I don't care. You're not coming out of there.
mm,
I know, but we gotta find because he was always concerned about how I was doing, how some of the things he did make me feel. And I'm like, I'm gonna be pissed for a while, but I ain't gonna never not love you. That's don't worry about that.
mm.
But I will never not love you. That's sorry, too late. What you want me to do? But he said that he was in and there was a lady that they were releasing um because she didn't have any more insurance coverage. And I guess her insurance only paid for like 30 or 60 days, and the lady, she knew it was not enough. She knew it was not time. She knew she wasn't ready, and they were like, well, you don't have insurance, so you can't stay here. So they let her out, and she relapsed and died.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he said that happened a couple of times. But when I told him, I want to make sure you get a counselor. And then he called me back and he was like, Jackie, they they want to charge another $500 for counseling. I'm like, all right, okay. He's like, nope, Jackie, I'm not doing that. He's like, come on now, we got the mortgage to pay, we got to eat. And I was like, baby, I don't know. I will stick up a CVS. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I
And he
hate
was
to
just
hear
like,
people with having to make these kinds of choices when seeking medical care, when seeking
exactly.
health treatment.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Exactly. ZZ Lion dad, thanks for the stick. He said, you mean to tell me the fake ass, punk ass philosophy of Dr. Phil don't work? Hell no. No. It don't work. It does not work. Just say no. Doesn't work.
Mm.
This is your brain on drugs. Doesn't work.
What about the ear doctor rehab method? Some ginger, some garlic, a little bit of I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know. Some broth, uh, some berries and juices that can
that's
get you off.
that's not gonna you gonna be wanting to smoke crack with your with your energy drink. You see, I can laugh about this now because
Yeah, of
it's been
course.
enough time. But
Mhm.
and I don't know if it has been enough time. I can find some humor in it in a way that I know is morbid, but um
Hmm.
I joke all the time that I would tell Abdus, look, if you can't get this straight, I'm gonna kill you. It was like, well, never mind then. But I mean, it's I can't act like this is not a big part of my life and a big part of who I am now. I cannot act
Mm,
like, I don't have everybody else's problem because other people are going through this worse
yeah.
than I went through. Oh, there are worse cases. There are Ab just told me about a guy he used to run with who went to his ex-girlfriend's house and stole all her furniture, everything, televisions, radios, laptops, furniture, the bed, the sofa, because when you are an addict that and you don't have a job to feed your addiction, you will do that
Mhm.
to get you won't hurt anybody physically, but yeah, stealing is not above because you need that drug. Your brain is telling you you need that drug, and it's so powerful a draw that you can't ignore it. So I was like, sir, I don't care what your problem is. You let me walk in this house and any of my shit is gone. I will call the police on me before I find your ass.
Oh, you better come get me, because when I find him, when I catch up with him, he gonna need some assistance. Yes.
A little bit. A little bit. I
I'm
mean,
telling you,
so
like I crack addicts, because I had such proximity to them. I didn't have crack addicts in my family, but they were my
mhm,
neighbors. They were the guys. And I know I've brought this up before, and I've seen people in the comments be like, "Well, wait, it wasn't no women did the crack in your neighborhood." I didn't see them over there. Now, not to say they wasn't over there, but I didn't see them over there. You know what I'm saying? It was the guys in the neighborhood that fell to crack.
mhm,
And but they all worked, Jackie. Like, I mean,
mhm,
that's kind of why I don't have a outright negative association or negative connotation to people who are addicted to crack, because I saw these crack addicts. I saw them every day. I saw them
mhm,
leave and go to work. I saw them come over around our yard. My mother put them to work, have them do
mhm,
shit around the house,
mhm.
and they worked. and they
Yeah.
after they was finished working, they went and beamed up. Like, that's just
Yes.
what it was. And they never broke in the house. I used to leave my purse in my unlocked car out front of my house. Nothing. It was never no disrespect in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? That was their thing. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
they didn't bother nobody. So why
Yeah.
bother them?
I don't know. I mean, there's a guy in our neighborhood right now. We call him Neighborhood Mike. Mike is on that stuff. And I know he is, but Mike has never, Mike cuts everybody's grass. you know, every year, twice a year, Mike come by. Hey, Miss Lady, you want me to clean out your gutters?
Yep.
It snowed. He knocking on my door. I'm like, I'm not giving you the snow kids money. No, you let the babies
Do the kids? You got kids in the
shovel the
neighborhood shoveling
snow.
snow? Because these little uppity PG County kids do not shovel snow.
Oh no, these
They
kids are
do not
great.
shovel.
They
Oh
are
my God.
great. Um last year they knocked on the door. floor, and the shovel was bigger than the one child. And I'm like,
Oh.
did your parents send you over?
Oh.
So,
That's
the
sweet.
little kids are like, can we shovel your
Yes, we
driveway
can.
sidewalk? Yeah, go ahead. Let's go right
Mhm,
ahead. And I
mhm.
thought I had like $20 in my purse, but I only had 10. And I'm like, oh no. I said, I'm so sorry, but I only have $10. And they're like, $10? That's $5 for each of us. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, go babies. Go babies. That's look at that socialism. They just split it, right? Even
Hmm.
down the middles to the
Hmm.
children. Yes. Good for
Yep.
them.
You know what, Kim? We did not do not one break.
I am aware that we didn't do a break because I've been having to use the bathroom
And
for some time now.
you just let me lead you astray like that. Ah,
But is it ever led astray with you, Jackie? You are the prophetess. Like I follow you a lot of places. I follow you quicker than I follow a lot of other people out here in the world. So just like Jackie's a very capable leader. I let you lead.
okay. All right. So we've got wait, did we hit 400?
Girl, I have my phone been died. My phone
Are we
died.
are we
So
doing the oh, you're wrong. Are we doing the break with the 400 or the 300?
well, where are we at now?
We're at 310.
Oh, everybody left. They said, screw you guys. We're going
None of
home.
our favorite people are here, so we're not
Pretty
staying.
much. I try not to take it in no certain way, but it's okay. Well, I
Oh, we
don't know.
take it.
Give them the lesser jump because No, actually,
Hmm.
I don't know. These are the devotees, so maybe we should give them the good stuff.
I think so. Yeah, I think this is let me see. We're gonna make this the last break of the show. So here you go. Thanks a lot, y'all. We will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
Thursday. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Thursday,
Oh, I need
Thursday.
help with this. Peace,
Happy
y'all.
Field Colonizers Love Day. Rest in peace, Captain Cook.
Yep. Happy stab Captain Cook right in the neck day.
Get in.
Peace.
Yeah. Y'all know what it is right here. This is the remix on the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Let's get to it right here, yo.
I can tell you how I feel about you night and day. I can tell you how I feel about you night and day.
Let's go.
Let me know when the rain or shine.
I could tell you.
And make it run in the rain is fine.
I could tell you. Ah,
Cause the wind and the cold at mine.
I could tell you.
Love is blind. I can tell you how I feel about you night and day. I feel about you. I can tell you how I feel about you night and day. I feel about you.
All right. Once again, we do it right here on the Remix Morning Show with the remix on the remix. Yo, that right there, in case you didn't know, was no other than your man, I'll be sure. That's right, with that song Night and Day, came out on that album In Effect Mode in 1988. But yo, who is that on the background with the beat? That's no other than Helter Skelter with La Flor, La Flo, Asoska Noska. That's right, that's off that Nocturnal album that came out in 1996. Yo, that was a banger right there in case you didn't know. But yo, in case you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you already been here before, why ain't you hit the like button already? Stop playing, yo. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, and get some footage that's rare. Yeah. And also tell a friend that they need to share. And that's what it is. The Ear Doctor wants to get in your ear. Now let's get back to the crew. You know how we do right here on the Remix Morning Show.